In today's video, we are going to explore how the differences in our genetic makeup, as well as the environments we live in, can cause massive variation between individuals and how, over a long period of time, this variation can contribute to the development of completely new species through a process known as natural selection. If you take a look at any group of individuals within a single population, you will notice that no two individuals are exactly the same, and in biology we call this variety or difference variation. Each person or organism has their own set of observable characteristics, which scientists refer to as their phenotype. This phenotype is the visible expression of traits that arises from the interaction between two key factors: our genes, which are inherited from our parents, and our environment, which includes everything we are exposed to from the moment of birth. Genes, which are made up of deoxyribonucleic acid or DNA, are responsible for coding the proteins that carry out various functions in our body, and when we refer to an organism's genome, we mean the full set of genes it contains. Apart from identical twins, every individual on Earth has a unique genome, which means they produce slightly different proteins in their cells, leading to unique features and functions. But even identical twins who share the same genetic code can end up looking or functioning differently due to environmental influences. For example, if one twin has a better diet and more sleep than the other, they may grow taller or be healthier overall. Or, if one spends more time exposed to sunlight, their skin may become darker due to increased melanin production. The key takeaway here is that most of our traits and characteristics are determined not just by genes alone or environment alone, but rather by the complex interaction between the two. In fact, many of our features are influenced by multiple genes working together and by a wide range of environmental factors such as diet, lifestyle, exposure to chemicals, and so on. Now you might ask, why is there so much genetic variation in the first place? The main reason is mutations. A mutation is simply a change in the DNA base sequence, and when this happens, the protein that is produced might end up being different as well. While the majority of mutations have no noticeable effect on the proteins and therefore no effect on the organism's phenotype, some mutations do cause small changes. In rare cases, these changes can be beneficial. For instance, a mutation might make someone more resistant to a disease like tuberculosis, or allow them to run faster or process certain foods more efficiently. When a mutation gives an individual an advantage in survival or reproduction, they are more likely to survive in their environment, reproduce successfully, and pass that advantageous mutation on to their offspring. This concept, that the fittest individuals are more likely to survive and pass on their traits, was first observed by Charles Darwin in the 19th century. Even though Darwin had no knowledge of DNA or mutations, he observed that traits beneficial to survival tended to be inherited more often, and he called this principle survival of the fittest. His broader theory became known as natural selection, which describes the way in which advantageous traits become more common in a population over time. But Darwin's greatest insight was the theory of evolution. Evolution is the gradual change in the characteristics of a species over multiple generations. Through the inheritance and selection of specific genetic traits, a species may slowly change until its members are significantly different from those of earlier generations. Over time, these differences can accumulate to the point where a completely new species arises, a process known as speciation. According to this theory, every living organism that exists today must have evolved from earlier species, and if we trace this lineage back far enough, we find that all species share a common origin in the simple life forms that existed on Earth more than 3 billion years ago. Darwin's ideas took many years to gain acceptance in the scientific world, but today, they are supported by overwhelming evidence. For example, we can observe evolution happening in real time through the development of antibiotic resistance in bacteria. These microbes evolve rapidly, and by studying their resistance patterns, we can directly witness natural selection at work. Additionally, fossil records offer a clear timeline showing how species have changed and evolved over millions of years. So to summarize everything, evolution is a process that occurs through natural selection. Small genetic changes, such as mutations, lead to differences in phenotype. If a particular phenotype helps an individual survive and reproduce, then that trait is more likely to be passed on to future generations. Over many generations, this can lead to the entire population changing. If two populations of the same species become so different that they can no longer interbreed and produce fertile offspring, then a new species has been formed. This process is slow but powerful, and it explains the incredible diversity of life we see on Earth today.